Guys, it's great to see you. It's the first time I've done a show, most probably for 2 years, so I'm very rusty. My brain might be here, but I'm not sure about the rest of me. But it's really lovely to see that you've all turned out today. Thank you for wearing masks. I know they're a pain. I hope you don't mind me not wearing mine. I have been double vaccinated, so I should be safe and shouldn't be giving you anything. But I hope you're all feeling reasonably well. And I will get started. So officially I'm doing RISC OS developments today. I will just do a short announcement for Orpheus. We are still here, we're in business. It's been very busy for the last 2 years, and we will be doing a new service over the next couple of years. I'm still trying to find providers for a VoIP telephone service. Now, we've never done phone services before, but there is a big change which you may or may not be aware. As you're all tech savvy, I can see lots of heads nodding. But I want to be able to provide an all-in-one service for you. So if you've got your broadband with me, I will be able to do VoIP as well. And as far as I can see, I should be as competitive as the slightly larger companies, maybe not quite as good as the Virgins and BTs of this world. But that's something that we'll be rolling out in due course. I've been speaking to various suppliers and waiting for replies from them. But we will get there. So that's Orpheus and Genesis really wrapped up together. On to the main event, RISC OS developments. What have we been up to? Have we been busy? Yes, we have. Our developers have been doing all of the projects that you are mostly aware of. We've got no hidden ones. We've got nothing that's happening behind the scenes. We often talk about what project would we like to do next, and we talk to you sometimes collectively when we're at a show or individually. Andrew and I, as directors of RISC OS developments, although we have our own companies, we do try to keep our two separate hats on. But one of the things that we would really like is, if there's something that's concerning you, if you want to make some comment about what we're doing, by all means, if you want to do a quick fact check, give us a call. My numbers are on the website. They're certainly on all my cards. Most of you know the Orpheus and Genesis website as well. All the numbers are there. If you want to give me a call...
It does work.
Right. If you want to give me a call, then is that...
No, it's this one.
Oh, do you want me to hold
if you
that
want it?
I'm most probably fine. By all means, contact us. If you've got a brilliant idea for RISC OS that you think should be done, you can talk to, we can talk to the guys at RAW. We have an ongoing relationship with them. We chat to them, usually about once a month, and we pre-book it for the previous month. So we're doing our best not to talk to each other. But sometimes we'll come to a meeting, and apart from going over what we went on in the meeting before, we've not particularly got anything new. There's, I think, 3 or 4 guys in RAW. There's myself, Andrew, and Marcus in RISC OS developments. We're all doing our own thing. We're all employed. If there are new ideas coming, there's more of you than there are of us. So please talk to us. Come and have words with us and say, I don't like this bit in RISC OS. It doesn't work right. Is there a something? And if there isn't a bounty there, then we can talk to RAW and suggest a bounty. Sometimes we do things that are outside of the bounty scheme because we're approached directly by commercial companies, and they have a different time frame and a different way of doing things. So we try to share things between us, but you know, we tell RAW about it, and we always let you guys know what we're up to. So that brings us very neatly into some of the projects that we've been doing. So I'm going to start with Iris, the web browser. Do you know that's what kicked RISC OS development off in the first place? Because some person said to me, Richard, you did a web browser before, when can we have a new one? I have a demonstration of the latest one on the machines that we've got on the stand, so if you want to see it in its latest incarnation, and we have got a fast internet, much faster than the hotel one. So if you want to come and have a look at that, we can run through various things. You can have a play, I can leave you in peace and quiet. We've been improving things over this summer. The interface and your user experience is something that we've been concentrating on quite heavily. Up until now, we've been doing all the bits in the background. You know, will it go to this page? Will it work with HTTPS? And all of the techie stuff, which, as you all know, I'm not the person to ask about, but you're welcome to give me a question and I can always forward it on. So, IRIS can now also work with other RISC OS internet programs, so that if we're clicking on a link like the email, which of course is not handled by IRIS, it will now open a suitable RISC OS application if the computer has one and knows about it. Another feature is that you can now right-click links to open in a new tab. That wasn't available previously. The menu system has been significantly expanded, and it will provide various sort of web development aids, including a full element inspector. It can also open the page source now for you to allow for editing in text and HTML editors. The file operations have been revamped and images can now be saved out of the browser. There is a new link submenu, and that provides various facilities for handling links, linked pages, new tabs, clipboards, saving, new window, those sort of things. Private browsing windows are now possible. So if you're going to go to one of those very special RISC OS sites that you don't want anyone to know about on your machine, you can now do private browsing on there as well. And that's very useful if you're, in real terms, practical terms, if you want to go to your bank and you don't want to leave cookies and things lying around, using the private page is always a better option for you there. Password Manager and Password Autofill have now been added in and are working. So that's the October 2021 build. These are some of the things that we can highlight there. I don't know if you've all kept, if you're ardent users, you must probably check the web page more than I do, but if not, that's available to you at the usual places. If you've had the O-Browser CD, or you've made a donation to us, or you've got IRIS from Pling Store, you can also get that free update. Our investors get a heads up, usually about a week or so in advance, and that's now available to everyone. There's still more to do. There's more revamping, there's more improving. We're not quite at general release yet, but we are aiming to have that out, I hope, first or second quarter next year. And that will then be on general public release. Please don't hang me at Wakefield if we don't quite make it, but obviously, hopefully most of you will be at Wakefield. That's what I'm aiming for. I don't know if Andrew will agree with me. I don't know if you'll be able to ask him when he does his talk in a little while, but that's when I would like to think that at last we'll be able to have IRIS absolutely available for everybody. But we will make an announcement at the time, as I say, not quite ready yet. So we've got a browser, a RISC OS friendly IRIS browser. It's got JavaScript, the CSS, secure web browsing. So we've got a modern browser at last. Our next project that you've been hearing about is the revamp on the TCP IP stack that was requested by a commercial customer who's been paying for it. So that means none of your money or our money has been used on this. Now, we've had this running in a small beta The small beta was expanded a little bit about a month ago. I'd now like to expand that beta to you guys. Now, we're not going to make it freely available because obviously if everyone downloaded it onto their machine and there was a nasty little problem, that would put all the RISC OS machines at, could cause them infinite problems and we wouldn't be able to cope with the phone calls. So, if you would like to take part in this beta, this is freely available to you all, so it doesn't make any difference what level of technical ability, which is why they have me on there. I'm somewhere down the bottom and I just say, well, why can't I do so and so? But any level, send an email to andrew@riscosdev.com or richard@riscosdev.com and we will email you back all of the information of where to go to download the current zip. Now, do remember when you open that zip, there is a README file. It's very important to read that README file. I was doing something the other day and I had forgotten that I was running the TCP/IP beta. So I went ahead and did the changes. And then when I turned the machine on, I'd really bucketed it up very well. So it took about half an hour of, oh yes, this is what I need to do, and uninstalling and reinstalling and sorting out. There is an install and an uninstall button for people like myself, so it is possible to go back to the existing stack with a double click and a reboot of your machine. But that's all explained, or it should all be explained in the README file. If anything's missing, again, let us know. But please, this is an invite. We would like to have more people doing that. Quick show of hands, people who've already got it at the moment. Oh, just 3 of you, so hopefully that gives me scope to add a few more people there. If you're interested in the stack, just from the point of view of, well, does it work? Have a look at the 2 machines that we've got on the stand. There is a small Raspberry Pi showing our RISC OS Direct SD card version of the OS with all the extras that we put in, all the programs, all the bits to get the kids interested. And then there's a standard Forte. I've also got a new piece of software on there which I'm demonstrating. And you're more than welcome to come and have a look at that. I'm not going to say any more, you've got to come and see me, talk to me. But the TCP/IP stack is running on those 2 machines. Those 2 machines have an internet connection via my MacBook, and the MacBook has its internet connection from my iPhone, which is on 4G. So, and it's working quite well. So come and have a look, see the actual nuts and bolts of it. So what have we been doing with the network stack? I apologise, this bit's most probably a little bit dry, but it's all the, you know, what did we do on our holiday? Well, so far, we've created a new MBUF manager. So that source can now become fully open. The previous one that we had was proprietary, and we weren't allowed to open source that. It just wasn't possible. We did talk to the licensee people, but bearing in mind that we knew that there'd be a new stack coming, we didn't actually chase too hard on that, so we've now got a new MBUF manager, so when the TCP/IP stack gets put into the Git, after all have done their pass over the code to make certain we're not going to totally destroy everyone's machine, then with their support that will then be available. So that's another tick on the, yes, we've got another bit open sourced. It combines the functionality of the old MBUF manager with the new functionality that the new stack requires. It's written in C for improved future maintainability, so it can be recompiled 64-bit, 128-bit, 256. No, I don't think we're going to go quite that far. We've built a tool to import the OpenBSD sources. It automatically makes a number of adjustments when it's doing this to make the code RISC OS friendly. It applies any of the patches that the programmers are currently doing, and it makes it easier to import updates from future OpenBSD development. So as well as the stack, the tools that are required to maintain this going forwards into the future have been developed, and they're being improved at the same time as well. We've made an interface between the core OpenBSD networking code and the RISC OS world. Some of the concepts in the OpenBSD don't exist in RISC OS, or they're different on one side of the equation to the other. So that's another one of these solutions that our programmers had to create. New Internet Module, and support in the Internet Module is IPv4 and IPv6 straight out of the box for you. And it includes core code for 802.11 functions. And someone's very kindly put in brackets, i.e. Wi-Fi hooks with a smiley face. We've imported and converted some tools, and the list of those, I'm going to start at the bottom. DH client, root, netstat, ARP, ping and ping6, and ifconfig. And as of about 24 hours ago, I was told that there had been some major updates on that ifconfig as well. So that's not even in the versions that we've got, but somebody had a light bulb moment, and I believe he said to me there's an awful lot more commands now that are just working absolutely fine. So that was really good news on Thursday night. We've updated a few drivers. There are differences in the way this new stack works with OpenBSD compared to things that have happened in the past, and that's also different to the updates that have been done to the drivers in the last few years. There have been more updates as well in the last few years, so the original drivers we did for all the test machines, they've also been updated. Extra functionality has been added into these existing drivers. So far we have EtherTH, which is for the IMX6 family, EtherUSB, Pi 1, Pi 2, Pi 3, and plug-in USB devices. Excuse me if any of you know that I've missed something there. EtherGNet, which is the one that we've got for the Pi 4. Those are the ones that we've got running at the moment. I know I've missed one there, but I will come to that shortly. We've also added Resolver. So again, that's now another tick that we can put that when this goes in, we've got it open source, which obviously we can't do with the existing module. It uses all the latest code and the new calls needed for IPv4 and IPv6. Now, don't ask me why, but apparently it's agnostic hostname lookups. Makes it easier to port the code to work under IPv6. So I apologise, these notes were given to me by the programmer, so way over my pay grade. We've also got a new Dhcp module, and it definitely works, which is great. So that's great. So we've got our own proper RISC OS module for that now. And let's have a look. I am missing something here. Right, sorry. So this update that you can now come into this the beta testing, as I say, the guys have put it together in an easy to install update, and that's mainly for me. So I hope you can enjoy that, and we will have a good new number of people testing this for us in the wild, because there are more websites that you can go to than I've most probably had hot dinners. Apparently we have also consumed quite a few caffeinated beverages while doing this. Further plans. Obviously there is more work to do. We're adding further IPv6 auto configuration, updating more network drivers. The one that I believe is fairly close to the top of the list is the Ether CPSW, and that's the one for the titanium boards. So I think we've got most of the bases covered. And we will also be creating Wi-Fi drivers. We do need to produce a replacement configuration and management GUI, and I have now managed to source a gentleman to do that for us. We didn't have anyone particularly who had said yes, we'd like to do that, and I was talking to someone last week and he's done work for us before, so we've now got the programmer for that bit. So that's another plus point that has come since I printed this out. We also need to make documentation for everything. At the moment, the programmer does admit this is rather sparse. So to make it proper and full, we'll need to do this. So most things have been covered. The supported platforms, I went through that list just now, but it will also work with the Beagle, the Panda and the ARM books, so they've not been forgotten. They will be a little bit slower depending on the processing power obviously of the machine. Internet access is nippy or not quite so nippy. We still need to do further optimization on the new stack to make certain that when you get it, it doesn't all of a sudden the website that used to take 2 seconds then takes 10 seconds. There are some instances where we've had that and then there's scratching of heads, but this is where our beta testers come in. You can help us find these and fine tune it a lot better. So we've also got IMX6, and I mentioned the Pi 4, but it does also work on the Pi 400. So we are absolutely, hopefully, bang up to date. So this new stack, IPv6, large packet handling, we've revamped the DHCP, which obviously that helps us lay foundations for Wi-Fi. One of the things about the UI that we've been talking about is we want to have profiles. Now the reason you would need profiles in networking, especially if you have Wi-Fi, then you're not on the Ethernet, but you want to make this transition easy. I speak on the experience of my Mac. When I come here, there are different things. I just have to click a few things and it all works. It makes life easy. So we're looking to do that, so when people have their laptops that maybe Andrew has supplied, that you can set your profile up for hotel for when you're at home. And as Wi-Fi is the way that everything is going, RISC OS needs to be aware of it. Yes, if you've got your static machine at home, you don't in theory need it so much. But to give you an example, I have more than one internet access at my house, and I have multiple servers that are on different separate subnets, and sometimes I need for one machine to actually bridge over, but I only have the one Ethernet socket. So from my perspective, having the ability to change what the machine knows it's meant to be doing at the click of a button, rather than having to go through, open it here, take out this set of numbers, take out that router gateway address, change the DNS, to actually have that all pre-programmed as a profile with a nice easy name that says Richard's second network, or the Orpheus network, or the Genesis network. I think that's going to be something that is really, that's to me the practical use. I know that the technical side has to do all the modern things and talk, but I'm really quite chuffed that we're going to get that profile system. So that one I'm going to enjoy testing. What else? In related work, we need to properly expose the Wi-Fi chips on a broad range of the RISC OS hardware, because obviously at the moment we're not making use of those. So from Pi to Panda, the MX6, Pinebooks. So we're also working on that, so that the stack will be able to see these things and access them. More technical, again, most probably requires an email to Andrew. If you're part of the beta, we have a ticket system that runs, so you're not actually going to have to do emails to us. The idea being is you find something because you're an insomniac and you're up at 2 o'clock in the morning, that's fine. We have a ticket system, it's there 24/7. We may not reply, or the programmer may not reply till he wakes up, but it's there in the morning so you can check it, you can see progress, comments can be made until the ticket's closed. So, and that we've left it like that. We've left all the closed tickets up there as well, so that if you want to have a read through and see what has happened, you can also use it to a certain extent as an FAQ, because it's possible that the problem you've just discovered might already have been seen and there may be a ticket open. But that's brilliant, because you can put a comment in and say, yes, me, hashtag me too. I've had this problem, and you can put your comments in as to how it happened. Usual sort of information that you need to give to a programmer. Even if you're not technical like me, I sometimes put the odd thing in there, although I can ring Andy up because I have his number. But it is there, and that's a 24/7 thing. Now, that ticket system, as Genesis, we've provided that free of charge to RISC OS Development. That's actually sitting on a Raspberry Pi hardware, running in RISC OS as a server. It has its own IP, and you guys go and you log in there. So that's a solution that is totally RISC OS. So an added bonus that it's that we were able to take one of our products, which is the database system that if anyone knows me, you know that I have all of your details squirreled away, same database, but we've repurposed it and it's been done so that we can have the ticket system. So if you become part of the beta, you can see that, but you can know that all of that is running on RISC OS. And once this is all done and everyone has beta tested it, it will go straight back into the Git repository, because that's part of the contract that we signed with the customer that asked us to do this. That was put there. As soon as we can, we will get it in, and then obviously it will be available to absolutely everybody. So there's going to be no delay on that once we all are happy and it's passed all the checks. As I say, we don't want to put out something that's incorrect, but the beta testing is going fairly well. I can promise you, we don't have 200 tickets there. We don't even have 100 tickets. So although we've got a ticket system, I think at the moment it's only a couple of pages, and that's about 20-25 items on a page. So we expect to add some more, but it's all going in the right direction at the right sort of speed. So that's the TCP IP. The other RISC OS Developments piece of software that Andrew was talking about to a lot of people was Pinboard 2. Again, I have Pinboard 2 running on the Forte. I was using it this morning, and with the new piece of software, which is called Watermark. So come and talk to me about that after my talk and in between the others. On that, I had to export a JPEG, and it was very nice to just say export, bang, straight onto the Pinboard. And there's the file there. So it's been overhauled again over the summer, so it's now at beta 9. I think most people will have beta 7 or beta 8. Anyone that has got that, you can have a free update on request. Again, please contact Andrew, and hopefully that will be released again to everyone as soon as we possibly can. That was very long, and I apologise as ever that I've not got any pretty pictures to show you. Andrew's so much better at that, and I believe the guys at Rule are as well. Do come to the Rule one. They've got a nice announcement to make. I know what it is, but as they haven't released it in a pre-show statement, I can't tell you, and I don't want to steal their thunder. But we're really pleased that what they're going to announce has been achieved. So come and see that, and know that we're in full agreement and great backing with them. It's really superb. I hope I haven't made it too good, but I don't want you to be disappointed. Come and tell me afterwards if you are, and I'll apologise to you. But Are there any, oh yes, questions? This hand came up first.
Do you have a release date for Wi-Fi, for the finished version?
For a finished version of Wi-Fi. That's not quite part of the TCP/IP stack. Obviously, we're going to expose it. It's something, once the stack's there and the bottom bit's available and OS, it's just then putting the layers on top of the cake so that access can be done. Obviously, we would like to prove before we release the stack, maybe we'll get one Wi-Fi family driver working just to, because obviously we want to test it and see that it does behave the way it should do without suddenly coming back going, ah no, the stack's not right for this. But I can't say to you, yes, it will definitely be October 2022 that you'll have Wi-Fi on your machine.
I just wondered if there was a target date you were working towards.
As soon as possible. It really is as soon as possible. The pandemic obviously has put everyone, it's affected all of us in lots of different ways. And getting work done, Andrew, I know we were hoping that we would have a PCB to show. He mentioned that I think at Wakefield this year he announced his developer board. I haven't seen the board, but we can't get the components for it. He actually gave me a call, said, do you know anyone? And I knew someone who knew somebody else, and they had brokers. We've gone around the world trying to find the components. One of the stories I was told was that an 85-cent euro component that was available 2 years ago at that price is now $7.80. And there's no stock of it. So, David, nice to see you, sir.
Yeah. This work you've done on the TCP/IP stack, how does that fit in with the rule boundary, which has got, I think, about 4 steps? There's TCP/IP step 1, and then there's 2, step 3, step 4. I think there's step 2, but that's stagnated as the lesson. I think it doesn't achieve. It's sealant. So what? And somebody has suggested that nobody's giving to that boundary because of the work you're doing. So how does this fit together?
When you have 2 projects running, inevitably it causes issues with Project A and Project B. Now, one of the reasons we fully support the rule bounties, we've paid for some rule bounties in the past. And the way Rule do it is very professional, it's very well done. They research it, and as you say, David, in the instance of the TCP/IP, you've got the various steps and they've itemised it all out, because when you're putting it out as a bounty to the general public to ask for someone to claim some or part of, you can't just say, oh, the TCP/IP stack, because there are multiple things within that. I've mentioned a few of the things like the MBUF manager, the resolver, as just 2 items there. There are different things that have to be dealt with. So they have to fully explain. That's part of the bounty scheme, because if somebody wanders along and goes, oh yes, I fancy doing that, it's no good saying to them, oh, the TCP/IP stack. They need that detail to go and judge, is my ability correct to do this bit or that bit? So hence you get all of that. What happened in this particular instance, so it's worth sharing the history with you, we had a commercial customer come to us that uses RISC OS, it's not fair to say in the real world, but in a business state, they sell machines around the world and it uses RISC OS. They needed the new stack. And they had looked, they had a contact with us in the past, because we've done, Andrew and I, outside of RISC OS development, so it was before RISC OS dev. And they said, can you do the stack? But we need these steps in this deliverable, in this time frame, and we are prepared to pay for it. So you know, we looked around. The bounty scheme is there. Yes, it's got a certain amount of money, but as far as I'm aware, please correct me. I haven't been on the forums on the rule website recently, but I don't know if anyone had or has claimed it.
If you have, I mean, then, from what you're saying, it seems there's no point in anybody giving to the TCP/IP Step 2 bounty.
If we can get ours done and sorted, that is, I believe that would be the case. Yes, there you are. You have a firm answer from me. Now, we don't mean, and this is of no disrespect to Rule. They do an excellent job, as I say. We fully support their scheme. But the bounty scheme, now this is my personal understanding. So I will happily be corrected by Steve or James. That's not a problem. They can speak to me at our next monthly meeting that we have with them. They can correct me if I'm wrong, but my perspective of the bounties is the bounties are there and they can be claimed. But what Rule don't, as far as I'm aware, do is go out actively looking for people to do these jobs once the target has been hit. We had the opportunity that was presented to us that said, we will pay for the entire stack, but it's got to be done in this time frame. Now, we haven't actually achieved that time frame, but what we have delivered to the customer, they have said, yes, no, that's fine, and this is the way, as most of you will have been employed and in business, that's the way projects work sometimes. You don't quite make your times scale, and then the customer has the option of saying, right, fine, walk away, and they don't pay, and then we're left with egg on our face. In this particular instance, they've said, no, that's fine, yes, we can do that, we've satisfied the criteria that they needed. But it does cause a conflict with Rule, and we would much prefer to try and avoid that. On this particular occasion, maybe we didn't do it quite the way we should have done. I'm happy to hold my hand up and say maybe we should have talked to Rule a little bit more, or it could have been done in a better way. Hindsight is a wonderful tool. So if we have done it, if RISC OS developments have done it in the wrong way, we apologise, but we do feel that we've got it and it's going to be delivered, and in this instance in a much, maybe a much faster time frame, but it still has to be good code. We don't want to, some people say there's sort of a triangle of quality, price and time. Now, yes, we have to do it to a time scale, but we still want the quality. And when we've finished, I mean, the customer was very insistent that it goes into the Git so that it's available to everyone. But I won't tell you how many hours I've spent this month testing and doing things just as the end user. I'm not the techie, remember, but I still have to spend many hours every month. So I hope that goes some way to addressing your question there. Sorry, I'll come to you in a moment.
So somebody who's beta tested this, yeah, it's a great improvement. Yes, some optimisations still needed, which is visual. And the ticketing system, to have it on RISC OS is fantastic.
Thank you.
It's improving. But I was interested in what you said, you've got somebody to look at the front end, because that obviously gets them very badly mangled in the stack.
Yes.
So with forethought of RISC OS 6 split things up quite nicely in its configuration settings, that may be one thing. Particularly had a firewall section. IPv6 can expose you can go around directly, and indeed you can probably do that on IPv4. But so if you wish to move RISC OS into more Internet of Things, having the ability to configure the firewall within RISC OS, like you could with RISC OS 6, would be a good thing. So I would suggest that if you've got something on board, that perhaps they ought to look at one of the editions, how you configure a firewall setup, because I assume the BSDs that have that functionality built in, or could be exposed to configure. That sounds.
I'm going to say yes, that sounds quite sensible. Please send me an email.
Yeah.
You know my memory from when I'm at the show. As soon as I leave here, I forget everything and everyone. No, it's too much going on.
Yeah.
So please, yeah, send that to me. That's a very worthwhile point. Obviously, UI is very much, can be a very hot topic. It needs to be what I call RISC-ossified. I like it to look like RISC-OS, that's why I use RISC-OS. But we most probably also need to have more things. But at the same time, whether we have tabs or whether we have little buttons that you can click on that go green to move to different configuration areas, and we also have menu click and everything is on the filer menu system, and you have to go down 3 or 4 different levels to get to the same place. If we can, we need to cater for all of that, but it does need to be expanded. So the current system, bear in mind, this is what Acorn did 30 years ago. It sufficed, it was brilliant at its day. It does, as we know, it needs to be updated, but it does need to be expanded and most probably changed. So, oh yes, changed. I'm 58 and I don't like change anymore.
As long as it hasn't got green buttons.
Can I make it configurable if we don't like green buttons, so you can have red, cyan, magenta? I mean, obviously there are lots of things, but again, if you're beta testing, once we get it out there, if you see some, I mean, I've beta tested on various things. We've had some fun and hilarity with Iris along the way. That we get a new update and you suddenly go, hang on a second, it's got switched around, so things have gone back to front. Silly things like that. So again, beta testers, I'm sure we can find that. Gentleman in the back corner.
2 questions on Iris.
Steve.
Yes. First question is, once you've done the general release, will you regard it essentially other than regular updates on the WebKit engine as done and dusted, or is this essentially just the start? And secondly, are you planning to outsource the RS code, open source the RS code, put it on Git?
Yes. As far as I'm aware, ask Andrew this question as well. If he says no, then I have misspoken. But Iris is going to be freely available. As far as I'm concerned, the software should be being made available so that other people can help maintain it as well. I'm not sure if we've had the formal discussion and agreed that internally. That's the only caveat. I honestly can't remember today. But that's certainly what I would like. All of this stuff that we're doing, we want it out there. One of the things with the web browser, to answer your first question, which was 2 parts, yes, it will be finished. That will be great. It will be there. But web browsers don't stand still. How many versions of Internet Explorer or whatever it's now morphed into? Safari for Windows, there's Chrome, there's Firefox. None of these browsers stay the same. What's Firefox up to now? 74, 75? But probably, sorry?
96.
96. Oh, right. We're almost into 3 figures. It's something, but this is why we did Iris the way that we have done. Iris has improved in the time that we've been developing it because the source that it comes from has been improved. So it's then being recompiled, and then these new features are then available to RISC-OS. Then we have the inevitable scramble that we need to get the RISC-OS side to be able to talk to it properly and to take advantage of it. No, we still can't do video. But we can now do My Bank, we can now do Ocado, we can do Tesco's. We couldn't do that simply and easily on a reasonably powerful machine with a good internet in a sensible manner before. We can now do that. So the second part of your question is, it's got to be maintainable going past there. So we're looking at it that for the time being, we're the people that we've created it, so we've got to curate it as well. We have money put to one side specifically so that we can visit it maybe once or twice a year and do another update, then make that available, get that included so everyone can download it from all the appropriate sources and places, and move forward from there. At some point, Andrew and I may retire. Odd thought. But then maybe someone else will. But we want to leave it in a state where if somebody came along in 5 years' time and was really enthusiastic and wanted to put in their money and time and effort into it, they could look at IRIS and go, well, it's not 10 years old, it's not 20 years old. I hate to think how old Browse is. If that was 97, something like that, or earlier, you know, you would not want to take Browse and try to update it when we started IRIS, even less so now because the world has moved on an awful lot more. So yeah, it's always going to be, a web browser is always an ongoing project. And I hope we've given enough enthusiasm into that it will be supported further down the line. Somebody asked me today, how are our funds? Do we need any more money? And my reply was, currently we have enough in the bank to do what we need to do, but forgive me, we have no problem in coming to you all and saying we might need some more money for this project or that project at a future date. We will ask you, we will talk to you, and we really do genuinely, openly invite you to talk to us. Obviously, sometimes here and now is not quite so easy, but you have my phone numbers. Some of you are Genesis customers. Want to give me a call someday? You know I'm always there. I think generally I answer the phone within 3 rings. So give me a call, even if it's not to talk business, but just to have a chat about something, or if you've got a concern. Just on a slightly down note, I noted that on the forums some comments were made. Now, I'm not going to discuss the subject, that's not the point, but I'm sure, and I really hope that it's nobody in this room, but the people on the forums know who they are, but nasty, aggressive, toxic comments, especially when they're aimed at, because Andrew tended to be the person that was on the forum, I'm really ashamed that I'm even talking about it. I think it's despicable. Please, please don't do that. We're here, we can be talked to. I'm addressing this, not really. I know a lot of the people in this room. I'm addressing this to the people who maybe aren't here today. If you're cleverer than us, come and tell us. We'll listen. Honestly, I'm not the cleverest person in this room by a long, long way. But to upset Andrew the way that you have, as a friend and a colleague that I work with, I am deeply ashamed that that has happened. And by association, it's hurt me as well. So please don't do that. Moderate what you say. We agree that you've got the right to have your opinions, so do we. But let's talk about it, and even if we don't agree, let's agree to differ and still go forwards, because there are plenty of other things that we can talk about and that we can get on and that we can do. We all want RISC OS to thrive. So my apologies for the slight down note there, but thank you ever so much for taking the time to come in and listen to me today. Oh, another question, sorry.
You mentioned the light bulb moment, at the end of which several things just work. Is that the same thing that in the README file says, don't do this because there are some commands we don't yet understand?
It could. I'm not sure if it specifically is that, but yes, there were a load of commands that hadn't, that weren't working, and I've now been told yes, they are working. So
the commands unfortunately won't do anything for most people there to do with Wi-Fi, but it means we've imported a number of Wi-Fi features under the hood to ifconfig that are going to be useful hopefully in the near future.
May I introduce to you Mr. Andy Voyer, our lead programmer on the TCP IP stack. So Andy's most probably going to come and stand next to me on the stand, just for a bit of protection. But do come across, and if you've got a real techie question to ask him, or something very, very specific, I'm sure he'll try and answer that for you today. There we are. Right, that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.